Now, if I wanted to talk about science and faith, and this is the reason for my second book, Science and Faith in Harmony, I mention many things about Christian faith, the Bible, which are very harmonious to scientific reality, which don't conflict at all, even when people think they do. And there's so many examples, but there is scientific evidence for the existence of a creator, the fine tuning of the physical constants in the universe, and not just the cosmological constants, but many, many constants is one. I have published papers in the mainstream scientific literature about, the problem with understanding the origin of evolution and the origin of life because of, in fact, my latest paper actually uses a mathematical demonstration that you need to have accurate self-replication before you can have life or evolution or anything else. And we don't know how that started. Now, is that proof of God? No, but there is no proof in science, but it is evidence.
Let's stick with that just for a moment, because sure. I find myself fascinated as a non-scientist with these questions. And I've tried in various respects to convey some of this at a lay level to audiences.
Sure.
But this idea of how did life get going? I mean, that is a really remarkable and fascinating area, because I think a lot of people do sort of just assume, well, I guess evolution explains it all.
Right.
It's a bit of a catch-all, isn't it? But one of the important things that you and many others have noted is that, well, whatever you think about the process of evolution, it didn't create the first self-replicating molecule. You have to have that before you get a process of evolution.
Absolutely underway. Correct. Right.
And I think that's often the thing that people don't realize, is that there's this enormous mystery at the very center of life on Earth, life in the universe generally, really, of how on earth it began, how those extraordinarily complex arrangements that are necessary in order for a self-replicating molecule to come into being, how exactly that happened. So let me put a few things I've heard from different people on this one side, because I've heard Richard Dawkins address this and say, well, there are many, many planets in many, many galaxies in a, incomprehensibly large universe. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's unlikely, but when you sort of extrapolate to all the possible places where life could get going, then it becomes not so unlikely. So essentially, yes, absolutely, it does seem unlikely on the surface of it, but actually in the vastness of the universe, it's going to happen somewhere. What do you make of that argument?
Well, I mean, I've obviously heard that argument, and I mean, yes, if you're talking about having a very unusual thing happen, like a straight flush or a royal flush in dealing out 5 cards, that's extraordinarily rare. But yeah, if you deal out 1,000 hands, you might get one. That's not what we're talking about when we discuss the origin of life. What we're talking about is something that doesn't seem possible. So if you deal out, 1,000,000 cards, you will never see the ace of loops, because there is no such thing.
It doesn't exist in the pack of cards. It
doesn't exist. So it's impossible to get a royal flush with the ace of loops. Now, is that the case for the origin of life? Obviously not, because here we are. So we know that life began, but we don't know how. So when I say something impossible, what I'm saying is that it's impossible based on the laws of science we now know. In other words, the laws of chemistry. You're absolutely right. It cannot be evolution. Almost everybody agrees with that. Theists or atheists agree with that for the reasons you said. It just doesn't work. So we're missing something. We're missing some laws. And I'll tell you, I'm writing a 3rd book, which should come out in about a year or so, I hope, which is all about this, about the laws of biology that we don't know. And what's fascinating to me is how many non-theists are coming to similar conclusions.
Mm.
That we need new concepts. We need to include purpose, teleology, agency. The fact that, and this is astonishing, but it's something that is real, is that even the simplest of microorganisms have cognition. They make decisions. They remember. They act in unison. They have a purpose. So we are just on the verge. This is much like the surprising birth. We are on the surprising birth of a whole new way of understanding biology. And all of that, in my view, is going to point to the Creator God.